How are we this morning? All right. I get to have a little fun today. I'm not even going to say anything bad about Doug. That's a great passage. And, you know, I almost sat on the mic, and that was not going to be very comfortable. We're going to move it a little bit. So this week, we've had a crazy week. How many of you had a crazy week? Yeah, marry a high school principal. All kinds of crazy stuff happening this week. So in the midst of banquets and teacher appreciation and what else do we have? Softball games this week. Somewhere in all that, we still had to run a house, and we had homework and things that need to be done, and so we're going about our collective busy lives and rolling through everything and taking care of the house, getting the dishes done, getting home at 9 o'clock at night, trying to figure out what we can eat because we're too lazy to stop through a drive-through, and then we get home and we go, oh, there's nothing in the house, you know. Somewhere in all that, my daughter stopped me this week and said, I want you to read a book. My first reaction, like any parent, yeah, whatever. But I stopped for some strange reason, and I read this book. I had not yet opened John chapter 10 yet. I knew what we were going to be speaking on this week. Doug and I planned this a couple weeks ago. But I really hadn't, I know the story, but I hadn't sat and read it. So I want to share this book with you before we begin, because I feel like this, by the way, this was written by my daughter, illustrated and everything. So please, humor me and listen. Down on the farm in Southern California, there lived a mother worm, and she had 7 worm children named January, February, March, April, May, June, and July. One morning, the mother worm was going to the market. She asked the children what they would like for her to bring them back. January, the writer, wanted a new pen. February, the bookworm, wanted a new bookmark. March, the pianist, wanted a new piano bench. April, the dreamer, wanted a new doll. May, the glowworm, wanted a new light bulb. June, the scholar, wanted a new binder. And last but not least, July, the prissy one, wanted a new hat. As the children started to play, Mother Worm headed to the market. About an hour later, this old hen named Hecate Rooster came by the farm and asked for a piece of corn. But all of the children said, no, we can't. We are not supposed to talk to other animals like you. We are not supposed to talk to strangers. So Hecate Rooster turned all the little worms into people and took the worms to her coop all the way into the dark woods. When Mother Worm returned, she searched, but she could not find her children. She found the place where the children were. The chicken pen was creepy. It had spider webs on it. You could see where it had been painted red, but it was fading and peeling. Mother Worm didn't even want to see what was inside. She knew it could possibly be even creepier. Mother Worm knocked on the coop and begged for her children. Hecate Rooster said, I will give you your children if you can guess who is who. So she did as she was told, and she thought for a moment. January wanted a pen to go with her paper. Look at this lovely blue pen. Just then January let out a squeal of delight. February wanted a bookmark to go with her book. Mother Worm said, look at this really cool bookmark. February snatched it right up from her. March wanted a bench to go with her piano. Mother thought, this sure is a comfortable bench. March ran over and sat right on it. April wanted a dollhouse. Thought Mother Worm, look at this sweet baby doll. Mine, 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 yelled April. May wanted a lamp to go with her light. Said, this light right here would sure light up the night. Thank you, May answered quickly. June wanted a binder to hold her paper. Mother thought, this sure is a nice binder. It's perfect, exclaimed June. July wanted a new hat. thought Mother Worm. Now why am I wearing this beautiful hat? Oh, it's for me, squeaked July. Suddenly all of the children turned back into worms. Then Hecate Rooster ran away, and all the worms followed him, and he jumped into the chicken pen, and no one, and I mean no one else, ever saw Hecate Rooster again. And all the worms went home together, and everyone was happy. It's a story of a mother that can recognize her children no matter where they are. It's where we find Jesus today. It's Mother's Day. In this passage, Jesus talks about the gatekeeper, the shepherd, and the flock. He talks about the gatekeeper recognizes the shepherd. The sheep know his voice. Jesus is about change. And if you back up just a little bit in chapter 9, you're going to find that this is the beginning of a big change for Jesus and his disciples. A change in thought process, a change in philosophy. The Pharisees are starting to build a little bit against him. In chapter 9, we find the Pharisees questioning the man that Jesus had healed on the Sabbath. He had made him where he could see again. Jesus is talking to his disciples, and he uses several parables that they could try to understand. And so he uses this in my context that Jesus uses this figure of speech, but they did not understand what he was telling. So he says then, I tell you again, I am the truth. I am the gate for the sheep. All who ever came before me were thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. He will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come so that they may have life and they may live it to the full. I've heard this passage before. And in some ways, what I could see is it could be a very narrow passage. I am the way. I am the gate. Nobody comes through me. But you know, there's this thing that keeps playing in my head, and I couldn't figure it out. And I just sat and I was like, man, this is such an easy sermon. Jesus is it. He's the answer. He's telling you that. And I got wrapped around gate. What's the problem with a gate? You're either inside or you're outside. Where do we find Jesus? He's not inside a gate, is he? Jesus is about getting outside of the gates. So I got to understand this passage a little more on what I thought of Jesus. And I thought of other gates. And there are passages that say that when Jesus conquered death, and we've been talking about the resurrection, and we're in the Easter season here. Scott gave us a great talk about the trip and the journey to Emmaus. And it just kind of dawned on me in that 3 days, there's passages that talk about another gate that kind of got ripped off. I believe that it says that Jesus ripped the gates of hell off when he defeated death. And I'm finding myself right there. And I'm like, wow. In this passage, what Jesus is trying to tell them is that the gates are wide open. In the story that my daughter wrote about, it's about a mother that recognizes their child no matter what's happened to them. We could talk about the story of the prodigal son. It would fit right in. The father recognizes the son so far away. Even though we know he's changed, he can't look like the same son that left because he came from a wealthy family, had everything. And then as the son comes back, we know where he's been. He's lost everything. He's lived off nothing. He's had no food. He's eaten slop. He's dug in the trash. He can't even look. He can't even resemble what his son would have looked like. And yet, he still recognizes him no matter what. I heard the story this week of a couple that was married for 45 years. They got divorced. They tried to remarry again, and it didn't work out. So they ended up separated. One day, one of the family members from his side was driving down the road, saw this lady, head down, was cold, bundled up in a jacket, run across the street to a church. And in front of this church, she saw her get down and start digging. And she said, I thought I recognized that person. And I stopped and I stared and I looked and I realized it was her. The aunt, the very aunt she had known for 45 years, was 40 yards away digging for cigarette butts. And she said she stopped. She watched and thought, oh, my God, what you could have been. And drove away as the lady went back to her apartment across the street with her cigarette butts. How sad. I want to know why she didn't pick her up and go buy her a pack of cigarettes. For 45 years, this was her aunt. And then all of a sudden, one day, they're outcast. I wonder how many people fit that story. And I'm not about cigarettes. But I'm just saying, if we're about Jesus' love, why didn't we go? Why didn't she have the courage? After that much time, what makes somebody that outcast? What teaches us that? And I'm back to the story. Jesus is trying to tell them, I'm trying to break these walls. I understand what the Pharisees are telling you. I get it. But I'm changing this. There's hope for the hopeless. Yes, I healed the blind on the Sabbath. And what did the blind man say when the Pharisees questioned him? I don't know who he is. You don't know where he comes from. All I can tell you is, I was blind, and today I can see. What do you do with that? What do you do with that? I'll tell you what the Pharisees did. They did exactly what the lady in the car did. They scolded him and said, how dare you tell us our sins? And they sent him away. Jesus finds him and says, who do you know of the Son? He says, tell me who he is and I will follow him. He said, you've seen him. And he says, I will follow you. My mom, bless her heart, raised my brother and I 13 months apart. I know. And then I see my son, he's raising his children, and they're about that, a little over a year apart. And I see the struggles that come with that, and the joys that come with that. And I see Jace, even though he's only 2, already trying to figure out, where does Ashton fit in? Where do I fit in this family now? Where am I going to be? And I see him play that out. And I think at the age of 2, if we can see that, what happens when we're older and we're cast out and we have no place to go? What happens to us? Where do we go? How do we reach out? Or better yet, what if you know that person that's been exiled, if you will? Because that's what the Pharisees are wanting to do to Jesus. They want to move him on, get him out. And Jesus comes and says, I'm going to take the gates off of this church. And I'm going to open them up. And I'm going to let anyone who wants to enter. Wouldn't that scare you if you were the gatekeeper? Think of the Pharisees as the gatekeeper. Wouldn't that scare you? It would. It absolutely would. But what Jesus is trying to do is tell him, open your eyes. Open your eyes and see who's hurting. Reach out. Reach those that are unloved. Reach beyond what you're capable of doing. You see, so many times this story of a mother hen reaching out gets lost. I think, for me, what I discovered when I read that is my own daughter showing me the message in this same passage. Jesus is trying to tell his disciples that you're going to be the future. You're going to be the gatekeepers, the shepherds. He says that those that hear his voice will know him. He also says those that try to enter other than through the gates are the thieves and the liars. And he says, I am the gate. And he says, those of you that are trying to tell other people how to get to heaven or what their job is, if you're not understanding and recognizing that I am the way, the truth, then you're not understanding anything. If you're trying to tell people they've got 50 hoops to jump through, then you're not understanding one word: love. If you're trying to tell them there's a series, you're not understanding what I'm about. If you're trying to tell me there's a gate or there's a wall, you're not understanding what I'm about. I find Jesus on the outside of the gates. I find him on the outside of the walls. I find him as Mother Hen traveling wherever it was the Mother Hen had to go, to the barn, through the forest, through the spider webs. And then I find Mother Hen right there recognizing her children, no matter what's happened to them in life, no matter how bad they've been beat up, no matter what they've been through, understanding who they are. No, they may not look the same, and yes, they're going to be changed because they're changed forever. But she knows who they are deep down. She reaches to their own characteristics, what made them who they were. Knowing that deep down, no matter what changed happened, she knew her children intimately. Jesus knows every one of you that intimately. Jesus knows when you hurt. He also knows that we're not always going to do what we're supposed to do, and that doesn't make us right. That doesn't make us wrong. That makes us human. We're going to fail. We're going to fail again. We're going to make a mess of everything we can make a mess of. And you know what? He loves us anyways. No matter where we've been or what we go through, if we have to go through a forest or into trees, over the river into grandmother's house, he loves us anyways. Jesus reaches out to us even though we are the sweat, the nails, the people that cry out. Because in the end, even though we do always find ourselves in the dark crying out for help. And just like the mother hen, Jesus never fails to arrive. Would you pray with me?